Guys, I've done my absolute best to be as respectful as possible while covering this Gene Hackman case. And for those of you all who have watched my coverage, you know that I have tried to be as accepting as I can of the information and the answers that were provided to us by law enforcement and investigators. I've gone out of my way to try as hard as I can to be accepting of what we've been told by the investigators, even though I had my own questions, even though I knew that something was not adding up in my heart. I didn't want to be the guy to make a mountain out of a molehill. I don't want to milk this story when there's no milk left. But today, the doors and the entire roof was blown off of this investigation. Because a doctor that works for Gene and Betsy, he has just now spoken out. And he was in communication with Betsy in the days leading up to her death. And there was never any mention of any respiratory problems. Even when talking to her on the phone, he couldn't tell that there were any respiratory problems with her. In fact, she was in contact with this doctor to try to get help for Gene Hackman, not for advanced Alzheimer's, but for some sort of heart issue. But that's not the kicker. Here's the kicker. This doctor was talking to Betsy after investigators said she was already dead. The investigators, law enforcement, the people conducting the autopsies, they said that Betsy died on the 11th. Not only was this doctor in communication with Betsy, and she did not have any respiratory problems from the hantavirus, but Betsy was alive talking to him on the 12th. So in other words, investigators got this wrong. And they got a lot of other things wrong as well. And just when I thought that this story was over, now I'm thinking we need another investigation. Because there were a lot of red flags in the investigation, details that were wrong. I, brought those details to your attention. I didn't want to make a huge deal out of them. But now we're at a point where a doctor is like, yeah, you guys are wrong. She wasn't dead on the 11th. She was talking to me. So at this point, I have no choice. I tried to be respectful. I have no choice but to question everything. Because now, even from the get-go, I was really questioning, did Betsy really die from the hantavirus? And Gene Hackman, it doesn't seem like he had advanced Alzheimer's either, okay? But that's the explanations we were given. But before I go on a rant, because boy oh boy is it building up, I want to go ahead and dive into this information. Let's hear what this doctor has to say. New Gene Hackman mystery as wife's doctor claims she called me 24 hours after police say she died. Mystery grew over the death of Gene Hackman's wife Betsy last night after a doctor revealed she had called his private clinic 24 hours after police claimed she died. The Santa Fe medical examiner claimed a post-mortem examination showed Betsy died of hantavirus, a rare rat-borne respiratory disease, on February 11th, a full week before her Oscar-winning husband died of heart failure combined with advanced Alzheimer's disease. But last night, Dr. Josiah Child, a former emergency care specialist who now runs Cloudberry Health in Santa Fe, New Mexico, says Mrs. Hackman didn't die on February 11th because she called my clinic on February 12th. She'd called me a couple of weeks before her death to ask about getting an echocardiogram for her husband. She was not a patient of mine, but one of my patients recommended Cloudberry to her. She made an appointment for herself for February 12th. It was for something unrelated to anything respiratory. He added that 2 days before she was due to see him, she canceled her appointment saying that her husband was not doing well. Dr. Child said, she called back on the morning of February 12th and spoke to one of our doctors who told her to come in that afternoon. We made her an appointment, but she never showed up. She did not show any symptoms of respiratory distress. The appointment wasn't for anything related to hantavirus. We tried calling her a couple of times with no reply. The doctor's revelation that Mrs. Hackman could have been alive for at least a day longer than the coroner has claimed cast further mystery over her death. Dr. Child added, I am not a hantavirus expert, but most patients who have that diagnosis die in the hospital. It is surprising that Mrs. Hackman spoke to my office on the phone on February 10th and again on February 12th and didn't appear in any respiratory distress. An LA-based doctor says medical professionals are all scratching their heads over hantavirus as the cause of death. Respiratory failure is not sudden. It is something that worsens over several days. Most people get admitted to the ER because they have trouble breathing. It's exceedingly rare for a seemingly healthy 65-year-old to just drop dead from it. In fact, no one has ever heard of such a thing. Ms. Hackman was last seen running around Santa Fe on February 11th, visiting a chemist, a pet food store, and a supermarket. Mystery also surrounds who will inherit the $80 million Hackman fortune. The actor had 3 kids, but his estate was tied up in a private trust, and his kids are not mentioned in the will. So, I've had my questions ever since they listed the cause of death. In fact, they came out so quickly with the results of this examination or autopsy or whatever you want to call it. I'm used to waiting sometimes months. I've covered cases where I had to wait damn near a year to figure out what happened to somebody. But they rushed it out really quick. It seems like, I don't know, they were trying to get ahead of all of the conspiracies that were swirling online. I don't know. But they really rushed out real quick to tell us what happened to Gene and his wife. And right from the get-go, I had questions. But I'm not a medical professional, right? Now, I did my research. I haven't found anything about anyone in the history of the world just dropping dead from the hantavirus without knowing they had it. I can't find any cases like that. And I'm glad other medical actual experts are speaking out. Because, like he said, and my research showed the same, there's no single story out there about people just dropping dead from the hantavirus. Sure, the hantavirus kills plenty of people. But it's something that it runs its course over time. Usually people have trouble breathing. They check themselves in the hospital. And over the days and sometimes weeks, their breathing gets worse and worse until they pass away. Never in the history of the recorded, deaths and incidents related to hantavirus has anyone ever just randomly just dropped. But that's what we've been led to believe happened to Betsy. And now we find out that Betsy was actually still alive, scheduling doctor's appointments and doing things when we were told that she was already dead. And from the conversations she had with these medical experts trying to schedule appointments, there was never any hint that she had any respiratory problems. There was no hints or signs that she had trouble breathing. She also never mentioned those things. She was scheduling an appointment for something totally different. Now, isn't that weird? If you're sitting here dying from the hantavirus and you have trouble breathing, sure, maybe you're not going to tell everybody. Maybe you're not going to ring Gene Hackman's kids that you ain't talked to in 6 months and let them know. But you're going to tell your doctor. This is the most mysterious part of this all, is because she was in communication with the doctor, talking to the doctor about other health issues, never mentioning that she had problem breathing, or she was dealing with this or dealing with that. So I understand being secretive and being private. I don't tell everyone my problems and what I'm dealing with. If I'm sick, I'm probably not going to go tell everyone. But if you're sick and you're scheduling a doctor's appointment, usually you're going to tell the doctor. So this kind of leads me to believe that I'm not saying that Betsy didn't have the hantavirus, but I don't think that she was experiencing any symptoms. Even in the last days of her life, I don't think that she was experiencing, a major trouble breathing or anything like that, because the way this virus hits you, you're not going to be capable of driving around and going to the vet and going to the supermarket and shopping and all of the things that Betsy was doing leading up to her death. So there's something really wrong here. And I'm not suggesting, I want to put this out there, I am still not suggesting that someone killed these people. I'm still not telling you that I think or that you should think that there's a big conspiracy here that someone killed Betsy and Jean. But at the very least, the answers we were given were rushed and they were wrong. And this investigation, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it now, is a complete joke. Now, the fact that Betsy canceled one of her appointments for Jean in the days leading up to their death, that definitely sticks out to me, because it shows that, hey, maybe Jean wasn't doing too hot. But even with that, I still don't necessarily believe that advanced Alzheimer's is one of the things that caused Jean's death. But the mystery here doesn't really lie with Jean. And I've been saying that since day one. Sure, Jean's the movie star. Jean's the name that we all know. But Betsy is the star of this story. Because good health, bad health, at 95 years old, you're going to have complications with your health regardless. If you live to be 95, you're an extremely lucky person. It's not far-fetched to believe that a 95-year-old died because of some heart complications or something along those lines. But when it comes to Betsy, that's where the confusion is. That's where the mystery is. And I don't believe that she died of the hantavirus anymore. I tried to be accepting, even though it didn't make sense. Like I said, I'm not a medical expert. I don't want to sit here and pretend that I know more than the medical examiner in Santa Fe, because I don't. But it just never made sense to me. It never sounded right. It never sounded right to most of you all either. And I did my own independent research, and I couldn't find any evidence or any stories or anything about people just dropping dead from this stuff. And I'm glad that all of these various medical experts are speaking out, saying that they're scratching their heads. They're confused as well. I don't necessarily think that the hantavirus is what killed Betsy. Was she infected with it? Was the virus within her? Maybe. Maybe it was lying dormant within her. Something along those lines. I don't know. But I don't think that she just dropped dead from it randomly. And now knowing, listen, there were already a lot of details that they got wrong early on in this investigation. Now knowing that Betsy was alive when we were told she was dead, now I have to question everything. Because if you got this detail wrong, what other details could you get wrong? And remember, when I first started covering this case, I was really iffy about how they said, oh, the front door was wide open. And then they said it wasn't. It's little things like that that lets you know, okay, this investigation is not being conducted properly. Sure, there could be little minuscule things that don't matter, or you think don't matter, but they add up. And if I see that you're moving sloppy, and you're sloppily handling this investigation, and you're getting details wrong, it's going to make me less confident that you're really going to get the true answers moving forward. And now, I have no choice. I tried to give these people the benefit of the doubt. A lot of you did as well. I even tried to talk to you guys like, hey, not everything's a big conspiracy, guys. I don't think that there's a big conspiracy here. But now what can I say? They don't even got the time of death right. We don't know when this woman even died anymore. We don't even know what the woman really died from anymore. So if they got these details wrong, there's so many other details that could be wrong. So right now, I can't, in good faith, trust the answers that we've been given anymore. And once again, that's not to say that there's a bigger conspiracy here. That's not to say that someone whacked Gene and his wife. I just think that at the very least, they rushed this and they got a lot wrong. And they need to correct what they got wrong if they want people to put faith in them moving forward. If they want people to believe anything they say moving forward, they need to correct these mistakes now. Because these mistakes are going to cause even more theories. And if you think, oh, the family doesn't deserve this or deserve that, well, look now. It's not our fault that Betsy's doctor decided to come out, a week or so after they announced the cause of death and let us know, hey, they were wrong. So yeah, I still, even right now, I don't think that there's this big scheme to take Gene and Betsy out. But the answers that we were given were not right. So until we get the right answers, of course, people are going to have questions, myself included. But for now, let me know your thoughts and your questions down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.